Hi all! Everything in my video is pulled from the public domain, and I am using them under the Fair Use, Fair Dealings guidelines. Everything I say is my own opinion. You should look into this information for yourselves, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody had a fabulous and safe July 4th holiday. A few housekeeping items. Apparently, I thought that single malt whatever was beer. You all have informed me otherwise. I don't drink. So, of course, I don't know what it is, but thank you for letting me know. And number two, as I stated before, I have no clue what cricket is. There you go. All right. We have a lot to cover again today. Let's just jump in and get there, shall we? Let's go. All right, we're going to start off with Catherine. You know, these headlines, she made a surprise visit. I don't know why they insist on saying that. It was not a surprise. She knew she was going. Security knew she was going. Other people knew she was going. So I just don't understand that. But anyway, so she shows up at Wimbledon. She looked absolutely gorgeous in this mint green jacket. I've yet to see a color that she can't wear. There are colors I don't like on her. We've discussed that before, but this looked good on her. Anyway, what she did when she arrived was she went to court number 18 because she was watching Katie Boulter, I think you say it, take on Australia's Daria Saville. So they're sitting there in the box and it starts raining. So, you know, Catherine, no fuss, no muss. She just opened up an umbrella. She was sitting there laughing, enjoying herself. That's just what I love about her. Now, while Catherine is sitting in the box, the woman in the dress, in the darker dress, her name is Deborah Jevons, and she is a British former tennis player. And then she was also sitting with the lady in the white jacket. Her name is Laura Robson, and she's also a British former professional tennis player. You know, I gotta be honest, even in these pictures, I don't think the woman could take a bad photo. And also, it's very obvious that she could care less that it's raining. She's having a good time. She could have a good time at, I don't want to say funeral, but you know what I mean? She's just obviously enjoying the heck out of herself. So anyway, the game was stopped due to the rain. So it's at that point that Catherine headed over to the Royal Box where Lady Gabriella and Thomas Kingston were seen hanging out. Not long after that, Prince Michael of Kent showed up for day 2. Remember, he was there for day 1. He spotted Catherine. He went over and said hello. It's pretty obvious that they have an affection for each other. It was very sweet. And then Prince Michael had a seat in the royal box next to Lady Kingston. Now, when she reached the royal box, Catherine had a seat with Roger Federer and his wife, Mirka Federer. Now, for those of you who don't know it, Roger Federer has been friends with Catherine and William for multiple years. They were at Pippa's wedding. They're good family friends. And for those of you who may not know this, he just retired, Roger Federer did. So everybody got all upset because Catherine greeted him with a kiss on each cheek. Oh my God. Oh, give me a break. She's a nice person. This is what she does. I mean, people, grow up. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce. Everything Catherine had on was a rewear except for the jacket. All right, moving on. All right, we're moving on to King Charles and Queen Camilla, who celebrated the National Health Service's 75th birthday. It was started on July 5th, 1948, launched by a person at Park Hospital in Manchester at a hospital that's now known as Trafford General Hospital. So the Queen walked around and chatted with some patients, and she, commented that she's the same age as the NHS, which I think is hilarious. Now, some of the articles I read about this was very interesting. They said they were given a, quote, cradle to the grave tour of the hospital. So they met maternity staff, midwives, obstetricians, and then they chatted with staff that take care of patients that are coming in towards, the end of their life. They cut into a fabulous cake that was there for them. And then at the hospital reception, there was a huge crowd waiting to meet them after word got around that they were there. Well done, Charles. Well done, Camilla. Now, before this happened, Catherine and William, apparently, and they're joint patrons of the NHS charities together, they surprised staff and patients at a tea party that was held in the well-being garden of St. Thomas Hospital in London, also to mark the birthday. Now, while they were there, they decided to show off their baking skills. And one of the articles said that William's piping skills were less good than the princess's. Looks to me like he did just as good of a job as she did. I mean, yeah. Interesting, they also met the very first baby ever born for the NHS, and she ended up working for the NHS, which I think was really cool. So when that was all over, Catherine and William went out to the tea party that, as I said, took place at the London St. Thomas Hospital in central London. And they had some debates about whether cream or jelly should go on scones first. And, by the way, Catherine said cream. William said whatever was closest to him went first. Just like a man. Now, one of the women there got super excited and was like, William, hug me. I want a hug. So William got up and obliged her. Oh, I just love that. So, it looks like they did a great job. Again, great for Catherine, great for William, and they're celebrating the 75th anniversary. Just, they did it earlier. Again, a salad to remoulade sauce for all the information on her outfit. All right, next up, the King and Queen went to the new Jubilee gates. These are gates that were put at the beginning, the entrance to Abbey Yard. They were commissioned for the Platinum Jubilee for the Queen. So you guys know how it goes. They got to the gate. There was some talking. There was the plaque. It had like this green cover on it. And Charles and Camilla removed the cover. I'm sure it was very touching, and it looks like a absolutely gorgeous plaque. For those of you who are wanting to know what it says, you can just stop the screen here and read it. Here's what it is a little bit closer up for you. Very nice, very nicely done. And I do think Camilla was dressed. I love the trench coat look on her. Looks very nice. Moving on. So after that, Charles started greeting people, and the first person he received was the First Minister of the Scottish Government, Humza Yousaf, and then he received the presiding officer of the Scottish Parliament, Alison Johnstone. All right, next up on the same day, Queen Camilla was presented with a gorgeous bouquet. It was called a coronation bouquet, and it was given to her by the Worshipful Company of Gardeners at Holyrood House in Edinburgh, and this took place on the 4th of July. And in case you didn't know, this is a tradition that goes back over 100 years. Pretty cool. Moving on. All right. Camilla, the King, and Princess Anne had a garden party in Scotland at Holyrood House. Now, while the weather was bad, Scotland, rain, it didn't seem to dampen anything. Lots of people standing around, lots of excitement for, the next day. Princess Anne was having some sort of a conversation here, and the only thing I can say is she didn't look happy. I don't know what was going on. Maybe she was upset with the rain. But everybody else seemed to really thoroughly be enjoying themselves during this. We all know that the coronation is coming up the next day. Very nice. Now, while all this was going on, Prince William received Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, who is the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of Bahrain, at Windsor Castle. All right, let's turn our attention to Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh. She went out with some friends in London. She went to a place called La Loma. It's part of Private Club Oswald. It's located in Mayfair. She was wearing silk shirts, brown trousers. She looked lovely as usual. I love her style. Nobody cared that it was raining. Moving on. And now here we are the next day. Edward and Sophie were arriving at Westminster Abbey because they were having a service for the 75th anniversary of the National Health Service there. over 1,500 people were there. Looked like it was a beautiful event. You know, whenever I see these pictures of Sophie and Edward walking into an event together, I can't help but take note to the fact that Sophie walks behind Edward. Just like Catherine sometimes walks behind William. She doesn't shove her way in, so she can be first. It's just crazy. Anyway, they got inside. They said hello. They took their seats. It had a fabulous service, I'm sure. And when the service was over, they walked out, and Sophie, of course, received some absolutely gorgeous flowers. You guys know how much I like her. Now, the person who handed her the flowers apparently works for an ambulance service, which I think was a very, interesting little touch there. Very nice. Again, love the outfit, and a big thank you to Remoulade Sauce. Looks like everything Sophie is wearing is a rewear except the actual dress. Now, keeping with Sophie, here we are the next day, and she is opening the King's Academy, which is an educational and training place for nurses, midwives, and healthcare professionals, again, as part of the 75th anniversary. Lovely. Now, Camilla was out and about, looking lovely in her navy dress there. She went to tour a place called Dovecot Studios. Now, this is a landmark center, and it's for contemporary art, craft, and design, and it's located in the heart of the Scottish capital. And while she was there, she met weavers, staff, local craftspeople as well. Very nice. I know this is a museum, but you have to wonder if any of this stuff is available for purchase, because some of that stuff looks really nice. All right, moving on. All right, here we go. Charles and Camilla had a special ceremony in Scotland with the Prince and Princess of Wales. It was a national service of Thanksgiving at St. Giles Cathedral, which is part of Royal Week. Now, during this service, the king he was presented with the Honors of Scotland, which are the oldest crown jewels in the world. There were a ton of people lining the streets. When Charles got out of his car, if you were watching the video, there was so much bagpipe music playing and everything playing that if there had been protesters, I heard there were a small smattering of them, Charles wouldn't have been able to hear them. So anyway, it started with a people's procession, 100 or more people that walked to the cathedral. There were people there from NHS Scotland, which we know just had their 75th anniversary. It's a large group of people walked. Then the royals made their way to the cathedral from the Palace of Holyrood in their vehicles. Catherine's outfit, which was a blue Catherine Walker coat, was a tribute to Scotland's flag. Their first minister gave a reading during the service. It was just very, very nicely done. They had music that was made especially for this service. There was a violinist. There was an Olympic rower who carried the Elizabeth sword, which was used in place of the sword of state. Very, very nicely done. And I think they looked very happy. And once again, Harry and Meghan missed out on yet another royal event where they could have been present had they not, jumped ship. Now, apparently 2 women were arrested after trying to climb over a crowd safety bar, but I think it's because they were trying to get to the hunky equerries that were inside the chapel. So they just decided they were going to climb over. Why not? All right. When the service ended, they headed back to Holyrood House, and they watched the Red Arrows do a fly past. And the fly past was, to mark the coronation of King Charles and Queen Camilla in Edinburgh, any way you say it. Now, Princess Anne, who was not present at the cathedral, did show up at the Holyrood House for the fly past, and she was able to see that. Very nice, and I love her clothing as well. Beautifully done, beautifully done. And a big thank you again to Remoulade Sauce for all the information on what Catherine was wearing. I have to say, this is probably going to be one of the most iconic pictures out there. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, let's keep going. All right, moving on to Harry and Meghan. They're saying that not only did the Queen have bone cancer, not only was she grieving the loss of her husband, but she had to put up with Harry and Meghan's very cruel behavior during her final days. And that made her last few moments as Britain's queen even more painful, if you can imagine. You welcome this woman into your family. You give her things that, Catherine didn't get for years. She was given all kinds of help. And in the final moments, by the time you got to the Platinum Jubilee, they're saying she couldn't hear very well. She was easily confused. She couldn't see much. And that would have been the time for Harry and Meghan to stop talking. And instead, they just did an unending stream of hurtful interviews and films, and they just attacked her. It was horrible. And let's not forget, then Harry announced his memoir when she was actually dying. I mean, the cruelty. So we know that when the Queen actually watched the Oprah show, that she was in tears, that her family had been called racist after everything they had done for Meghan, how hurt she was by everything that happened. So every time they kept talking about reconciling, I don't think the Queen had any interest in reconciling with them. I don't think the Queen wanted Meghan within 5 steps of her. So when they did that show and Philip died, and now we know, of course, the Queen said, thank God Meghan's not coming. Meghan made it sound like they had a direct line to the Queen and they were calling and talking to her on a regular basis. I don't believe that for a second. I think the family knew what was happening. And now it's coming out they're having marital problems. Well, I mean, like we didn't all see that coming. So it's being reported that they're putting on a professional facade to cover it up. When you saw them hand in hand during that fake pap walk that we saw the other day, we know that was done because nobody had seen them in public together and they were trying to throw people off the scent. You know what I mean? You have to wonder when the Queen passed away if she even left anything to Harry, knowing that Meghan is going to suck it up. Moving on. Well, in the meantime, Harry and Meghan's PR team is putting out puff pieces like this. Why the 4th of July is so special to Harry and Meghan, because their romance was sparked around the 4th of July. And then the whole article goes into how they met and what happened on their first date and, the week in Botswana, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, you have articles like this. Harry and Meghan are ignoring the jealous critics. People are just jealous of them. Yeah, after their deal with Spotify came crashing down, losing a $20 million deal. And they said their step down was mutual. But, of course, we all know that the top executives said that they were, grifters. But supposedly this unfazes them. They just say it's mean. People call them money hungry and grifters, but it's all because people are jealous and mean people are flinging stories and we're just going to ignore them and build our brand. Your brand, honey, is dead. Move on. So the snubbing continues. We found out that Taylor Swift rejected a handwritten invitation from Meghan to be on the show. We found out that Katy Perry was invited to Archie's 4th birthday. She said no. Instead, she went to the coronation. We found that the U.S. officials aren't giving them the trademark for their Archetype podcast. And then the big snub. Here we go. Billionaire Michael Rubin had a July 4th party. So who was there? Beyonce, Kim Kardashian, Leonardo DiCaprio, Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez, Justin Bieber and his wife, Kevin Hart and his wife. Oh my goodness. So many people. It was a who's who of Hollywood, top tier influencers, business moguls, sports stars. But guess who wasn't there? Harry and Meghan. Now, again, it was brought up that they weren't at Jack Mann's wedding. Well, there is a rumor going around that the reason they weren't there was Meghan started up with the whole, we need security, we need this, we need that. And so that's why they didn't show up. Could be. All right, let's go on to this legal case. We know that Harry started a legal case against the Sun Publisher News Group newspapers, NGN, in 2019. Now, earlier this year, they which, by the way, they've denied everything. They said this case should be thrown out because Harry waited too long to start the legal proceedings. There's a 6-year statute of limitations from the time they become aware of whatever is illegally happening to start a civil claim. So Harry says, well, I didn't bring the claim earlier because there was a secret agreement between the Palisades and the newspaper executives. Now, while he admits that he found out in 2012 about the supposed deal, which is where the Royals would wait until other phone hacking cases were settled, and then they would be quietly admitted to or settled without an apology. So Harry's attorney, David Sherborne, said the Queen was involved in these discussions, and it was because of the Queen he couldn't bring it sooner, is what he's saying. Now, so the hearing that they just had was to see if they could go forward based on this quote-unquote secret agreement. Now, the attorney for the publisher said there is no such secret agreement. As a matter of fact, it was so secret, quote, that according to Harry, no one apart from him knows anything about it. He said it was the most bizarre and crazy thing. Harry has no evidence as to when this agreement was made, who was at the palace, who was involved in this significant matter, and that he's very vague because he's, quote, hedging his bets on this. He said, the people who you might have expected to be involved or be aware of this agreement, none of them have ever heard about it. And in the past 11 years, Harry has not even asked the palace or former solicitors about the agreement. So he said he has had years to gather evidence. He hasn't done that. There's been not one shred of evidence. And this is Alice in Wonderland stuff. Yeah, I agree. Now, they're claiming that this secret agreement was made by Harry's lawyer, who invented it as a backup plan when they realized they were in trouble with the case because they've got no shred of proof of anything that they've brought up. Then they talked about the fact that William settled his case out of court. And I think Harry is being led down the tripendicular path. You know what I'm saying, guys? Ay, poor Harry. All right, moving on. Let's jump over to Christopher Boozy. Yes, we know that his thing is going sideways, and now he's crying racism again. Yes, it's not because of anything else. It's just because he's black. Now, in case you don't have the delete button, here's some instructions on how to remove your Spoutable account. Now, he's claiming that he's not done, but he is sending out emails asking for money again. So let's see what happened, shall we? All right, a quick update. One of the reasons why I took a few days off was because I was having another sleep study, but this was different because this time, after hooking me up to everything, they clamped a mask on my face and then adjusted it all night long to see what my settings are supposed to be. I can only say it was very claustrophobic and I did not enjoy it. Well, I hope that everybody had a fabulous 4th of July. We shot off some fireworks with our neighbors. Don't worry, Finn was inside the house. He wanted nothing to do with this. But it was nice to see them go off. Yeah, there's something nice about watching these things pop up in the sky. You guys know what I mean. Here you go. All right, you guys, I want those comments, especially what you think about Harry's lawsuit and his claims that there was a secret agreement. And of course, the only person that would be able to confirm this is deceased. All right, leave those comments below. Don't forget to double check if you've already subscribed that you're still subscribed. If not, go ahead and hit that button and subscribe. Don't forget to go up into the description box. You'll get the links to my Twitter, my Getter, my Rumble, my email, and a physical address in case there's something you want to send. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund or through the thanks button, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.